Hello and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. We are back with the tier list and we have quite some interesting things happening, and we'll start right off the bat with our Baron lane. As you can pretty much see, we didn't see many changes for this lane. Every champion is still basically in the same position as beforehand, simply because, well, there weren't too many changes. Vladimir still stays in the ST, even though he just got nerfed, he's still absolutely overbearing as a champion. A few champions that could be a contestant for the super OP broken tier could be Akali and Jace. However, keep in mind, Jace's side laning is not as easy as, for example, for a Fiora, and Akali requires at least a tiny bit of skill. Nah, come on, who am I lying to? Akali requires barely any skill, but you know what I mean, she just one-taps you and kills you anyway. Champion is absolutely busted and should be nerfed, but well, got buffed because right games. If however there's a change that I need to comment on, it's about the tank Yasuo build. The tank Yasuo build removes all the skill required to play Yasuo, makes him super tanky, and just allows you to snowball games. I mean, just by purchasing the plated steel caps, you get 12% damage reduction from physical damage, plus the armor, plus the HP. So roughly on purchasing these boots, you get 25% tankier on the get-go. How absurd is that? There's no damage increase that comes even remotely close if you keep in mind that you have all the high base damages and attack speed from lethal tempo at the same time. For our tank tier, we have Ornn as still the most broken champion, even though he just got nerfed. Fundamentally speaking, it won't change too much for his terrible matchups, it will change something for his less good matchups, but obviously speaking, this champion's teamfight impact and durability in the side lane, unless he's playing against a certain true damage champion or certain true damage champions, is still unmatched. Other champions in the tank tier, for example the S tier, are super easy, have super high durability, and perhaps even global impact with the Shan ultimate and obviously the Sion ultimate. Other champions in the A tier take too long to scale, or just don't really offer that much in a side lane or a teamfight scenario and are just way better in other roles, and B tier is just cinched vibing. For the jungle role, we still have Evelynn as the most broken pick that wasn't adjusted once again. I don't know what's going on with Riot Games, but they have a weird idea of balancing champions, because Evelynn certainly isn't balanced. Another thing that wasn't looked into is Kayn and Shimmering Spark. You can still fully clear your jungle, do one suicide gank into the dragon lane, get one killed or even just deal damage to them, and get your form on 2.5 minutes basically every single game. For Lee Sin, I believe the buffs will help him, but potentially still in this type of meta, he will not be the best champion unless you are literal gone on him. Any other champion in the A tier just does everything worse than in the S tier, and B tier champions are, well, even worse at doing so, with the exception of maybe Darius. For the tank tier, we still have Volibear as the pick of the patch as the most broken champion in that position. Champions in the lower tier provide less or are less consistent and deal just less damage. However, if we look at pro play or looked at pro play, we would know and will know that Shen is the most broken existence that is just everything you ever wanted. In the solo queue context, however, Shen is not as dominant as he could potentially be because, well, you don't really have a team that often, do you? Anyway, Volibear as a champion will chomp you alive, will tower dive you on repeat, and will have a beautiful time doing so. A Mumu can go tank or AP or even hybrid, depending on what he really wants to, like off-tank wise, and he can still solo Nashor, still dive you, and still kill you, and it requires little to no skill. And Jarvan was one of the biggest winners in the recent patches. He is absolutely good right now and you should really think about playing him. Now let's move over to the mid lane, and here we have Vladimir as the best champion for the mid lane as of right now. Yes, I know, he got nerfed, but in all reality and in all truth speaking, that doesn't really matter too much. It's simply because his impact in teamfights and the way he deals damage is way too easy and powerful at the same time. You can almost always start with a Rui Crystal, which then builds into Lucidity Boots, and then you have 30 haste already, super early on in the game, which then allows you to space the enemy properly, and then use your first ability on cooldown with a reduced cooldown every single time you want to, and then just play the game for free. After this, you can just go for the Rift Maker, have even more haste because this item also features haste, ability power, and HP. And on top of this, you deal 9% bonus true damage on your already high damage numbers. Other champions in the S tier are simply not as strong or maybe even too hard to pilot. Another great winner of recent patches was Twisted Fate. The new Nash's Tooth is really powerful on Twisted Fate. It really solidifies his position in the S tier without any problem on my mind. Other champions such as Zoe and Lux are less powerful, but in a sense, way safer to play. Another champion that comes to mind is Annie. Yes, she got hit by a nerf and a lot of people don't utilize the right rune sets against her or the right boots, and she will still be very obnoxious to deal with. But here's something you can do against Annie to make sure you never die against her again. For your first rune page, you take the Resolve tree, take Nullifying Orb, take Bone Plating, and take Overgrowth or Perseverance. With the latter one, you'll have even more magic resist, which will make it way harder for her to kill you, and all the extra shielding and damage mitigation will completely negate the enemy's burst and therefore allow you to live more easily. Especially if you think about the fact that her damage just got nerfed. And if all of that is still too much for you, just get Mercury strats and she will not be able to touch you anymore. Which is something I'll do in the future. If I face somebody like of this type of champion, I'll just rush Mercs and sit there and relax, especially if I have a scaling champion. And all the other champions in the A tier or below either deal less damage, are less consistent, or just do nothing at all. Well, I mean the B tier champions. You should rather stay away from these champions, with the exception of maybe Galio and Seraphine, but all the other champions, stay away. With that said, let's tackle the assassins for the mid lane. Here we have Ahri of the highest tier as of right now. Yes, many people will be very much confused as to why I put Ahri there, but I believe with the upgrade to her boots, like having access to Boots of Mana, and the additional movement speed buff, she will always get to you and always get you killed without being hyper committal like other champions. But don't worry, because every other champion in the S tier is at least equally as powerful, if not more powerful in terms of damage, but usually lack the survivability. And obviously Zed can be hypermobile, but sometimes lacks the damage because AP champions are just way more overpowered when it comes to dealing damage compared to their AD counterpart. And champions in the A tier are either too coin flip or require too much time to be relevant. You can basically pick your poison here. For the other tier, we still have Jace as the most broken champion in existence, and it will probably stay that way for a long time. Other champions, such as Lucian, Corki, Akshan and Jhin, have decent laning phases and can really take over early on, but simply don't have that much power compared to Jace from early to mid game. However, Akshan can really accelerate ahead if the enemy makes a slight mistake, because putting 2 points into your third ability makes you absolutely one-tap anyone, and since Scuttle skirmishes are still happening, Akshan can snowball a game quite fast, which he has to because in late game, he absolutely sucks. Champions in the A tier or B tier are either niche picks that you would pick into a certain other champion, or just are not as strong as the other picks available. I mean, look at Graves mid lane, Rakan mid lane, Singed mid lane, they're just not doing too much, are they? However, our next pick for the AD carry role is doing way too much, and it's Corki. Yep, I know, you've seen this champion 50 billion times, but I hate to break it to you, it's absolutely busted. Kai'Sa can't do shit to him, Tristana is suffering against him, every champion is literally in agony against this champion, it's literally the truth. Only champions who are able to fight him from giga range, for example like Varus, or a hyper-scaled Kai'Sa, which has 3 or 4 items and can spam her second ability, have a chance against him. However, there's one pick I need to mention that is severely underrated completely all the time, every single day, and it's Nyla. This lovely champion will get you killed, but the only downside of this champion is that she needs 2 to 3 items to completely take over a game. The moment you assemble Gluttonous Grease, Bloodthirster, Lockdown Misregards, and Infinity Edge, you will one-tap everything. And after this, you just need to focus on survivability with a shield bow and then going for a DD or a Spirit Visage. Keep in mind, you are a melee champion, you're coded as a melee champion, and therefore you gain the melee bonus from Death's Dance, which is then 30% damage reduction against physical or rather staggering, and then allowing you to live longer, and you dodge all auto attacks and take reduced magical damage for an extended period of time thanks to your second ability. So if you get a champion as a support that can solo carry the lane and allow you to do something special or go in during the laning phase, your champion can snowball, and once you're ahead, or get to free items, it's absolute game time. Champions in the A tier have potentially high lane dominance, but really struggle once they don't have this lane dominance. They're very dependent on that lane dominance, and if they fail, everything just goes to shit, literally. In all honesty, I don't even know if I want to put Vayne B tier or if I just want to have her stay in A tier, but all the champions in A tier are just substantially weaker than champions in the S tier unless they're getting snowballed. When they're snowballing, it's a completely different story. For example, a Fat Draven will just eat you alive instantly, but if he fails to get ahead, he just does nothing, similar to a Caitlyn or other champions within that tier. And no, your experiences with a duo Q-mate playing Lulu or Yuumi playing with you doesn't make the champion magically stronger. It's a very conditional thing and just only applies for these very constellations, and not just generally for the champion strength. With that said, let's take a look at the Mage tier 4080 carry or Dragon Lane position. Here we have Lux as the best champion. Still best range, good damage, good gold gain, everything beautiful. If this was competitive however, we would put Ziggs there, but well, Ziggs only stays in the S tier. All other champions in the S tier are simply worse. Ziggs would be the best of all of them, and all the other champions fulfill either a similar purpose or are all-in mages. Like for example, Vex is an all-in mage, Swain is an all-in mage, and for example, Veigar is a zoning mage, and Seraphine would fulfill a purpose into an enemy all-in comp where she'd completely demolish the all-in with her ultimate ability, then unleashing all her spells into one line to get the enemy killed. Champions in the A tier probably take too long to scale or just don't do too much. For example, Morgana, she doesn't do anything, right? But if you pair Morgana with a Leona, Morgana starts dealing a lot of damage because her passive triggers Leona's magic passive every single time instantly and therefore applies a lot of extra damage, which will then lead to her second ability's execute damage to come in faster, and then you get kills super fast because the enemy can't really leave your puddle, can they? As I said earlier, that's only a combination of things and it's not really realistic to always get this in solo queue, and therefore the champion's strength is completely determined on her lonesome. Now let's tackle the last role, the support, and here we have the Nautilus in the engage tier, the most consistent and easiest engage. Rakan is still a good pick, but suffers most of the time from bad teammates and not having enough damage at the same time as tankiness. Playing full tank Rakan in solo queue is like hurting yourself, a really bad idea, but Nautilus on the other hand kills the enemy without any problem. Other champions in the same tier in the S tier are Thresh, Ornn, Galio and Gragas. All these champions are super broken, and if you really want to, you can put Leona into the S tier as well. Every other champion in the A tier just does everything that the champions above do, just worse, and champions in the B tier you should generally stay away from. For the Protect tier, we have Karma as the pick of the patch, or rather the strongest champion currently. She does the most damage with First Strike, has high lane presence, can carry games and just deals so much damage. The shielding buff also helped her out quite significantly. Other champions in the S tier like Lux, Yuumi, Lulu, Soraka, Braum and Janna are just weaker in comparison to this, and champions like let's just be honest, Lulu, Braum and Yuumi just really need somebody to basically leech off from. And Soraka really is powerful when your teammates know how to play with a Soraka. If they're constantly in and have no clue what to do, the current version of Soraka cannot heal enough to mitigate that problem. Champions in the A tier just do everything worse, and champions in the B tier, please stay away from them. Even if you get the false confirmation that Sona might be working for you, it's most of the time the reason why it's working for you is because the enemy isn't playing at all. So if the enemy isn't playing at all, you get to freely scale and do nothing and nobody's doing anything, then yeah, Sona can be a great champion. As for the carry tier, we have Senna in the Pinnacle tier. She is just so strong and does so much damage and can itemize purely defensively into the right drafts and takes over games by dealing damage and being as tanky as a Malphite. Other champions, such as Pyke, are more map control heavy and also more coin flip heavy, because if you have a bad team, carrying can get really problematic the moment we hit mid game, but you always have this wow outplay factor on Pyke, so he's always fun to play. Champions such as Brand and Swain are less consistent, but find their place into heavy melee comps that require you to deal consistent DPS right into their faces. And Ashe is just a utility goblin that throws around spells on the map and hopes for people to get caught. So from that angle, she's quite valuable, but very squishy, dies very fast, and does little damage. And that concludes today's video. Before I end this video today, I want to say thank you for all members we have so far, and if you want to become a member and be listed here, all you have to do is click the join button and you can become a member for as little as $1 and get those cute emotes and spam them when I'm live chatting and live streaming. And needlessly to say, you support RiftGuides YouTube content immediately, because don't forget, we all have only limited time at hand. Anyway, thank you all for watching, don't forget to press the like button to boost the algorithm, leave a comment as well, and let me know what you think about this tier list in the comments below.